living in our van for about 6 or 7 months now. We're taking the money that we would otherwise be spending on a fixed address and instead reinvesting it, growing our business and exploring at the same time. So yes, we're saving money, we're absolutely saving money, but we're also very much of the mindset that we want to continue to explore and do things while we're alive and we have this one life and we have a real zest for adventure. And
I think that the best part about living this lifestyle would be the freedom and the flexibility it gives, as well as the people you meet. You know, we live in our van, so people are walking up to our house and we're meeting them, and just it really forces you to get out there and meet people and rely on people, and people are generally really good.
For me, I would say van life is all about the ability to continually travel but have your home with you. I just think it's such an amazing way to see the world, to have the comforts of home and to be able to come back into your tiny house and cook up a nice meal. Eamon and I spent a couple of years backpacking, traveling, working, and 2 months were spent in New Zealand in a little tiny camper van. We absolutely loved it. We loved having our home with us. We felt like it was backpacking 2.0. And we always said we would love to do it again. We just didn't know in what capacity. And then we started our business back here in Toronto. And we realized that we wanted to grow and expand, but we couldn't afford to fly ourselves to Vancouver and get an Airbnb and do all of these things that were really costly. We thought, how do we expand? How do we continue to explore and adventure, which is all the things we love to do, and own a business?
And then on top of that, the real estate market in Toronto was just not very
first-time buyer friendly, or
yeah, exactly. So we even tried to rent a place and couldn't get the lease signed. So it just kind of worked out, and I was actively looking for a van, and we found one at the right price, and we just went for it. So we went out and bought a 2008 Dodge Sprinter. We decided on the Sprinter mainly for the availability to stand up. We wanted it to feel like a home. We didn't want to be crouched over and feel like we're camping. Mm-hmm. And as well, we liked the design of the Sprinter van. At the end of the day, like, it is the exterior of your house, so we wanted something that looked really nice. As far as like the actual design of the build out, it kind of just, I spent a lot of time thinking about it. And once I had the van, I would stand in it and kind of like, put a piece of wood where the counter would go and put it the bed and kind of feel like, okay, is there enough room in between the bed and the wall and that kind of thing. And then just went for it. And it worked out really well.
The build of our van sort of began with the front with a swivel seat. Eamon and I really appreciate the way that opens up and we can host and all of that kind of stuff. Just with that additional seat, it sounds silly, but it really has opened up the space. We customized the kitchen. We love cooking. It was one of those things I didn't want to have to sacrifice by moving into a van. You see a lot of people with really tiny sinks or things that are portable, which is cool if it's nice out, but we live in Canada. So we wanted a really functional, beautiful kitchen, and we absolutely love it. A large sink, so I could wash my hair if I really need to, which is an added bonus. 2-burner stove. We've got overhead cabinet. We've got a tiny little area where we keep our toothbrushes and things like that.
We went with a Dometic CR55. It's a fairly small fridge, but for us it seems to work well, and it just runs right off 12 volt.
Our biggest bonus of our van is our Vitamix blender. As I said, I didn't want to have to sacrifice by moving into a van. We have smoothies every morning. We make all kinds of cashew creams and cheeses and things that just need a good blender. It definitely takes up a lot of our electricity, but it is so worth it. So the Vitamix is a very special part of the home.
And then moving into the back of the van, we went with a fairly unique design for a small space, but we really wanted to have room to host people. So not having a fixed mattress allows people to walk in and sit down, and you're not congested by that front door. So we went with this kind of like couch design, and it's just a mattress basically split in half, and it just slides down into bed mode. And then when it's up in couch mode, we've got a flip out table. It's a very usable space, very adaptive space. And we've got even more storage underneath the bed, a huge pull-out drawer, and that's where we keep a lot of our stuff for our tea.
We each have a cabinet up here, quite small, but again, you're sort of forced into minimalism. Not that we were ever not minimalists, but you kind of realize how much we are. So we have a few outfits each and make it work.
So as far as powering the van, we went with 2 main ways to recharge our batteries. is number one is solar. So we have a 320 watt panel on the roof at all times. And that's great during summer, but throughout the winter, we also have the ability to charge it up just from shore power. So we actually just plug right into the wall, every couple days. Maybe we can last 3 days depending on what our usage is. So we wanted to keep all of our electronics kind of in one area. So right when you walk in, it's nice to have a light switch, so that controls the front lights. And then this one's for water, and this one we haven't hooked up yet. And then all of the components for everything is just down here. So you just kind of pull that little zone off, pop that out, and this wall comes right off. And you've got your batteries, your inverter, charge controller, and all the fuse systems. So your 12 volt and your AC fuse panel. Our battery bank is just two 95 amp hour batteries with a 2000 watt inverter. Then the prized possession, being Canadians, is our heater. So we went with a diesel S-Bar D2 heater, which has been truly phenomenal. Really simple design. It runs off of diesel fuel and has a little bit of electricity to power the fan and just blows hot air into the back.
Another Canadian essential in our van is our mosquito netting. We have it lining our side door. In the summer, we absolutely love it, think it's essential. In the winter, it becomes a little bit of a pain because you're sort of always trying to tie it back and get in and out. But we loved it in summer. You could just cool, have some ventilation by closing that up.
Our water system is fairly simple. One thing we did do, which I would highly recommend, is the line is all on quick disconnects, so they're really easy to change in and out. So we store 15 gallons of fresh water, so 5 gallons each, and then they all drain into a gray water. So when you're changing one, it's time to dump the gray water. That works really well for us. We do drink a lot of water, and we cook all our meals in here, so I would say that lasts 2 or 3 days, and then you need to refill it.
For us, the van has grown our business over the past 7 months of living in it. We've been all the way to the east coast of Canada and all the way west, just expanding our business and meeting clients that we wouldn't otherwise have had a chance to meet and now work with. So it's definitely a solution for our business. It was a solution for our living situation, our home, or renting, or whatever it might be that we were going to pursue otherwise.
And it was a solution to our travel addiction.
Yeah, we have an absolute zest for adventure and travel, and so being home, starting the business was an adventure, but we still had this itch to go and do something or explore. And I mean, Canada has an amazing backyard, and there's so much of it that we hadn't seen, and I've loved the opportunity to go and travel with you in the van. So people often ask us, is it our long term? How long are we going to do this? And I always say, until we're not loving it anymore, until it's not fun, or, I mean, it's not every day is perfect, but until we're not enjoying ourselves. Eamon and I spent a lot of time abroad. A big chunk of that time was in India and Nepal, where chai is consumed daily. It's a ritual. It's a huge part of the culture. And we really fell in love with all of those aspects of consuming tea. When we came home to Canada, Eamon started working at an espresso bar, a great little indie coffee shop that cared a lot about their coffee, and tea was sort of an afterthought, and chai was mostly a concentrate, a syrup full of sugar, additives, and things like that. And he just thought he could do better. It wasn't, we sat down and had this business plan and we're going to take over the world with this new chai product. It was very much an organic growth. And he thought, oh, well, if I can make one bag and this cafe likes it. And they
started selling it in Ziploc bags, basically. Went to one cafe, oh, that's great, cool. And then maybe we should get packaging. And it just really snowballed. Mm-hmm. But from day one, we made it very clear that we wanted to do this and still have freedom. So we're distributors to other cafes, and that allows us to service them. But then, we're not tied down by being in one area. But we love it. It's really helped us with even more freedom and allowed us to travel in a different capacity. But every day is an adventure still.
Easily our number one question is, where do we go to the bathroom or shower? I say to people, if you were on a road trip, where would you go to the washroom? And that's where we go to the washroom. For showering, most of the time we're either, especially in the winter months, we have gym memberships. So we go to the gym almost every day anyways. We just shower there. In the city, we have a kind of a little triangle radius of our office where we normally park and our gym. So it's quite easy. On the road, we'll get month memberships or a trial pack at a yoga studio or something. And again, showering is so simple. One more thing I'll highlight is that once you put yourself out there, even if you're not on social media, but you're just living in a van, I find we're so much more open to meeting people. Our door is open and people invite you to park in their driveway or shower here, and it's never been an issue.
As far as heating is another big one. Is like, oh my God, are you guys crazy? You live in your van in Canada? It's not that bad, but it's not that fun. So I'll say, like, you know, realistically, van life is not great in winter. It's just, it's very limiting. It's a different type of living in a van. And, you know, even like tracking snow into your vehicle, like it's a whole thing to kind of manage and deal with. Imagine, you know, you've got the heat on and it feels all cozy in here, and you open that big sliding door for 1 second and it's minus 15 out there. Like, you just suck all that hot air out of it. So as far as like sleeping at night, it's cool, it's fine. You got the heat on, you're toasty. I sleep in boxers, like it's no big deal. But as far as like thriving and, you know, really enjoying yourself, it's just a little bit more to manage. But we typically park at our office when it's really cold, and, you know, we can use the facilities and we can cook in our office, and then we can just use our van to sleep. I don't mean to sound like it's horrible to live in a van in winter. Like, we still do it, and we're really enjoying ourselves. I'm just comparing it to those summer months where it's been really, really fun to live in a van. But there are challenges, like, you know, when we first got down to those negative temperatures, the whole water system froze because I forgot to leave the heater on when we were sleeping at my mom's place for a night. So just learning how to manage your van, and we're loving our heater because you can actually set it to a certain temperature and let it run for a certain amount of time. So you know that, you know, even if it's running and keeping the van at 8 degrees, you know, your olive oil isn't freezing and that kind of thing. So
about 6 months ago when we started our van build, mostly because we had been so inspired by people on YouTube, and Eamon, especially with the build process, found so much helpful information and research on YouTube. It was sort of a way to give back to the community, to just share our build. And from there, the past 6 months, we've filmed a lot of videos just about our everyday life. As much as the build was really interesting, I think people are really interested in knowing, how do you do everyday things in a van? We're just kind of opening ourselves up and putting ourselves out there to see what happens, and it's been a lot of fun.